Okay, so here it is, my first impression on the new Tier 6 heavy tank, the Pawlack, from the American Heavy line. First of all, it is not aesthetically pleasing tank to look at. Pretty ugly looking, kind of like weird looking, kind of tall, only 5 degrees of gun depression, even though the turret is sitting really high up. Yeah, weird looking tank, but you know what they say, weird looking tanks perform really well sometimes. My favorite tank is a weird looking tank, which is the 1357. That's my first contact with the enemy there, a leopard, and I immediately hit the ground with my standard AP shells. I'm gonna try it for a second time and try to snipe the KV2's big old turret, and failed to penetrate, and immediately tap the 2 key and start ripping. You know, if I had to summarize the Pawlack gun, I would have to quote the great Gattuso and say it's
sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
This is what I think about this gun, but as long as you are willing to spend a little bit of gold, a little bit of credits, and load up premium shells in your tank, you can penetrate almost anything, because you get 205 penetration on the premium APCR shells. Standard shells are 160 penetration, which is not too bad if you're fighting just tier 6 tanks, you know, no problem at all. The gun is actually working like a tier 7 M2Y. It does 240 alpha, exactly the same as an M2Y. Reloads 8.63 seconds. The tier 7 counterpart reloads in 8.44 seconds, so not a lot of difference between the tier 6 and the tier 7 guns. This gun aims at 2.30 seconds, the tier 7 aims at 2.21 seconds, dispersion at 0.40, the tier 7 0.39. You get the point here. It is basically the same gun with slightly lower penetration. I'm gonna take my time and aim, make sure I land these shots, and at the same time I'm gonna use this rock to keep myself in between me and the enemies at the north, make sure no one spots me so that the T-3485M cannot shoot me from the island. And he is spotted now, so I'm just going to use the bushes here and see if I can get a couple of shots on him, fire one at him. I'm going to reload, try to get into a little bit of a safe here. I thought I angled myself and I'm a little bit safe here, but I still took a 170 damage from that T-3485M. Now I'm just going to finish him off with my third and final shot on him. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this tank actually. For my first game I'm doing over 2000 damage, so I'm pretty happy. But the only weak part about this tank is the moving dispersions isn't very good, so shooting on the move is not a good idea, and you also have 5 degrees of gun depression, which is kind of poor considering that how tall this tank is. Why does it only have 5 degrees of gun depression? But anyway, this is the end of the game. Pretty quick game, 4-minute game I suppose, and yeah, for my first impression, my reaction is I was quite surprised. Seeing how late I made this video, I've already done all the videos. I was contemplating and completely skipping out the tier 6 heavy tank because I'm just not interested in tier 6 heavy tanks. But you know what, just for content purposes, just to try it out, at least give it a go before I completely write off this tank. So I decided to at least give it a try, and I'm glad I did, because I figured out that this tank isn't too bad at all. Here we are in my second game, and we are in what's the name of this map again? Abbey. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about the equipment. I am running vents and vent directive, IRM and rammer. I was contemplating on running the hardening equipment, but this tank is actually quite a mobile tank. It is not a fast tank by any means, but it is not a slow heavy tank like a traditional heavy tank. This is more like a medium heavy tank, which is why I feel like, not bad. This tank has a little bit of mobility. I can switch sides if I need to. Amazing that I made that shot on that VK. If you watch further along, you're going to see me make a couple of shots that I didn't expect to make on that scout tank. Again, I am trying to shoot some moving tanks here. I need to make sure that I steady myself and fully aim before I pull the trigger. No point trying to shoot anything while I am trying to move or wiggle or reverse or go forward. Again, trying to shoot this light tank, and I make that shot, which is quite surprising because I didn't think that I would make any of those shots on the VK2801 there, and I've made 3. In fact, I also get the kill on that guy, which is quite surprising to me because you don't think of making those kind of shots while you're trying to wiggle your way out of trouble or trying to move your turret and hull at the same time. So being able to make those shots on the VK really made it good for me. I would venture to say that if you're grinding through this line, this is a pretty easy grind to pretty easy grind of a tank, because it is not difficult to play. It is not a pain in the ass. You don't feel like you hate this tank while you're playing it. So if you're grinding through it, I would say don't skip it. Just play it, because it's quite easy to play. It is quite a pleasure to play. No problem in going through it or grinding through it at all. But I would say that is this tank worth collecting or keeping? There are a lot of better tanks out there. This tank, just because of the way it looks, I wouldn't keep this tank because I don't think it's a very pretty tank to look at. If it was a better looking tank, I would consider keeping it in my collection. But no, this is not a tank that I would want to keep. But it is not a pain to play. In fact, it is a pleasure to play. It is quite easy to play. You can be aggressive. You can defend yourself. I don't think this is any kind of a tank that you would hate or have anything bad to say other than the way it looks. So I would say keep playing this tank and get through it, get to your tier 7. Maybe you want to keep the tier 7, maybe not. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't feel like I would hate on that tank. I like the tier 7 enough to say that it is the best performing one out of all the Yo tanks that have been released so far. But yeah, this is a losing game. You can see we are down 3k in HP. I am not inclined to go anywhere and fight anyone, so I might as well just stay here on my lane and try to get up as much damage output as I can. We are already down 6-7 tanks, so there is no point for me to try to push any further. I can't go forward because there is a Jackson there supporting that VK, and behind me we are all surrounded. It's just me and that Achilles left on our team, so I might as well just try to finish off this VK while I can. I try to shoot at his turret. It seems like I can't penetrate that, so I'm going to try and aim at his hull instead, and I hit his turret again, so it's not working out for me too much. But I'm going to go forward and see if I can shoot his upper front plate, which I do, and I managed to pen him and I managed to bounce him at the same time. So you can see the armor working here. Sometimes it doesn't work all the time, but if you have it at an angle, it seems like you can bounce some small arms fire, I would call it, from the VK. But we do lose this game. I did manage to squeeze out 2.6k damage, so didn't work out too bad for me. Nearly 2.9k damage actually, but we still lost the game. Yeah, so this is my experience with the Pawlack. Not a tank that I would hate, but because it's not a very pretty tank and not a tank that I would want to keep in my garage. Hope you enjoyed this review and hope you you know, enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.